Inheriting Your Life, Homage to Emma Goldman. There in the streams of time, Emma, I trust you will recall the late November evening when you stepped down into Toronto, the immense bleakness of the Canadian National Station, the finally stilled 12-wheeler panting enormously to your left in a sour, ambiguous light. That early winter, flowers of faces, warm-hearted and eager, opened spring to your eyes, a promise of a new field, and the bundle they gave you was like a child already born for you, from you, the pink roses sent you by your newest lover, the one you hoped in to be an adequate love, at last the love of fire and peace, your hope in the world, alone in the world, made real. The pink roses were laid in your arms. Here for you, a sort of new world, all rose trees, all moments of a happy struggle to come, for you to hug and carry under your breasts down the dark platform into solemn, cold immensities of geometrical stone and out into the night. Not alone for now, but with your laughing followers who led you, surrounded you. I almost see them as if strowing palms at your feet. That was 1926. But maybe times mean nothing to you now in the streams of freedom where you play beyond all betrayals, your spirit accomplishing everything, the pure streams of time where you meet true loves amid love set free. There you come across no boundaries, scarred through paper into the poor earth, scarred into minds to stop the divine human body in borders, bind it, make it seem a limit to itself. In your dream, that earth more real than ours, our earth more real than this one we've made to plant regiments of cleated feet on. In your dream, the daylight face of the world we are given, only visible to love if we'd only take it. Maybe you are free of the absurdity, police, prison, that here the beauty of the body is made to be. As you were always free, in a peace surpassing as you understood, even your own understanding. Maybe you're free in death from the indifference of distracted, spiteful swarms of us hurrying to make a cringing treaty with fate, the mediocre. Maybe you are accomplishing the free play of forever joyful struggle there in what we call death. There, invisibly as once visibly here, you are the life of this world, life hidden from us, people who failed to flame up the freedom of love from your repeated kindlings. People, hunched bulks on loading docks, wrapped in rough, filthy burlap with twisted hempen bindings. Machinery or skids of products waiting by the cars to be loaded and shipped. Waiting not far down the tracks from you as the new Toronto comrades engulfed you, a happy flood, and carried you like a spirit in its pinnace, its canoe, on a shining spate, a spring rill of refreshing flame through a magic land to that evening's party. Yesterday they swept me off my feet to celebrate the fact that you and I have survived, you wrote to Sasha. Later, a table beautifully set, as in a legend, an enchanted castle. And the people presented me with a wristwatch, the first in my life. People in Europe are dead to the lot here. They took 10 years off my shoulders. I met Emma Goldman first in a dream. Not dreams shifting in the dark, but the dream, with eyes suddenly open, the one of hunger and homelessness all around, suddenly appearing in the midst of the flowering world of happy childhood. Dream of bondage, opening in the dream freedom. But which is the dream, or must both be the total dream? The dream in me was terror at the prison house, the human-made world, and the dream was the fire-fountaining image of being given, being let be, left to be together because let alone by the termite armies of wardens with no imagine of anything to do but to enlist me, march you, cage up all, impose the gift of idiot rule. Freedom, the image of being let be. What is that image? A world, a garden that is more than a garden? For why a garden at the start? I love a garden. I would not impose my love. There are many I love who want some other fruit of the love of earth, fruits I have scarcely tasted. Does the hunter on bare feet look back in tears to some garden? Was Eden a garden? Let there be also the wild land of milk and honey, pure place for the making of all human goods, many gardens, all gardens possible for those who conceive that excellence. Dreamland of meadows and forests, factory-ravaged, perfect land of my birth racked by big industry, paltry ambition, or the land of mountain passes for trekking alone through peaks from the coast to the plains. Oh, ice in your lungs, eagles circling beneath your bleeding feet, but here in the real, the dream, you will not fail, though you fall and your frozen body is examined by scientists in an alien time. No, beyond death, the adventure always ends in the flowering of the adventure. Land of tundra, muskeg blooming, bystort, starflower, arnica blossoms. Land for standing alone or with a small band to gather the coming in of the geese in great sky arrows, their haggard, stony music, echoes as from a cavern in the sky in the warm, beloved frigidity of spring. To live and make as you desire, according to the image of what you have worked and managed to have the heart to love. What is that? No one knows but you if you'll find it patiently, savagely looking in your heart. Everyone has groped for a tree bole to steady himself, searching for the moon, looking up through oak leaves. Everyone has shaded her dazzled eyes and has received it, its visit, the sun rising on the ocean or on the treetops. Or was that not the sun, but the great white bird of light, or a goddess that we saw walking on the wave crests, the leaf crests? All have glimpsed it. None have seen it except in the dream they scarcely dare. I met Emma Goldman in that dream. You are a life's companion, Emma. I can't remember a time before I knew some fragments of your story to shelter me. You were a cyclopean trace in a scurrying country of automatons. Rumors of you seemed in those days a ruin left by ancient titans, the true humans, people of the dawn. Once they were here and built and then left tumbled stones. But they were here once. They existed. To those stones a boy could escape and dream there, sheltered in the lee and shadow and legend of a broken column, a toppled altar. That was what fell to me in my hometown, Niles, Ohio, birthplace of the President William McKinley. And I was told in my cradle, as they say, he had been murdered by an anarchist inspired by Emma Goldman. What was an anarchist to a 4-year-old? Who was Emma Goldman? Then soon I began to know. Through the demeanings and lies of the accounts, I could glimpse and love you. I won't tell the story now, the story you know well, of a quest that as it travels through nothingness produces the enchanted kingdoms around it, the sights, the earth of the adventure. It arises in a heart that longs. Where do they come from? A heart that longs, a stream that purls, a bird that sings. The body may sit poised while the heart traverses forests, meadows, and seacoasts, and comes to castles flying oriflammes, to broken chapels. That vision, kernel of love, seeming still in the heart's contemplation, will explode one day in the struggle to break open to the gift of everyday freedom for all. I won't tell you the whole long, quixotic, chaotic romance of my growing close to you. But one day we arrived, my love and I, here in Toronto, to live here, scarcely recalling our scarce knowledge that you had worked and raged, loved and considered in these same streets. Here one day we were charged with the task of writing the book of your presence here. Here we found, searching, that we could follow your work here, your days, your hours, here. That word, here, beloved to me, with its sound of quiet wind gathering up the scent of woods and prairies, the sound of a step in dry duff or wet malm, always rings to me as a bell of earth and fire. I love it. Here, 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 be here, listen, look, but then close your eyes and hear what is said here. Hear you, Emma, like a gliding, stubborn seed, angry but grateful at every peremptory gust that grabbed you up and swept you elsewhere, always elsewhere. Loving it, you made each elsewhere a new here. In Toronto, you had lived the veneration for the true human you had borne in Kovno, Rochester, Pittsburgh, Moscow, London and Saint-Tropez, Madrid and Barcelona. Did it ever blossom? Let me recall two small twin flowers. In Blackwell's Island Penitentiary, thrown in that rusting pot iron man-made hole for a speech you gave in the country of free speech, you learned nursing and were grateful to the government for that year. That gratitude and irony, a sarcasm, and still a pure grace of gratefulness from one who could transform bitterness to hope, that miracle. And how better to think of you than as a nurse, a midwife, a lover, a mother. You said it yourself to Berkman, writing in final disappointment, final exultation, to the one above all, the one for all lifelong you had hoped in to be the adequate love, the one who most helped and loved you, the one who most failed. The one treasure I have rescued from my long and bitter struggle is my friendship with you. I know of no other value, whether in people or achievements, than your presence, the love you have aroused in my life. You were lacking often, you harsh man, in comprehension of my actions, the motions of my soul that moved them. But that is nothing to the force of your voice since I first heard it in Saks Cafe. Your voice, your voice, your voice, that I hear now and I have heard through half this century of bitter clamorings from shops and jails and tombs. That first astonishment, first great love, that sudden advent of your voice, I hear it now. It's in that moment I was born, am born along invincible through all winds, a woman, mother, comrade, friend. Men come and go in my long life, but you, my dearest, continue and remain forever. Then she had no more hope of their union and had to pull down an utter darkness between them to thwart her desire, end distraction, be again concentrated on the task, struggle, life, and go on as someone who carries a lost love as a true and vanished world into a loveless scar today, a smoking devastation, field of wounded faces with lolling tongues, eyes staring out of cracked frames, seeing what passes, but not caring, or blind, who can tell? The fact is, dearest, she had written, we are fools. We cling to an ideal no one wants, and I am the greater fool. I go on eating my heart and poisoning my life in the attempt to rouse the people. If only I could close my eyes. I cannot help but see my futility, and yet I can't let go. That was in 1934, the cry, the sentence of the perpetual outcast wanderer, I can't go on, I'll go on, the fundamental song. Poverty of generosity, the unremitting holding out of the gift despised. Hope against hope. Hope beyond hope, a silent power, indomitable, enduring, action in impossibility that brings the strange birth under the only star, freedom of love in any moment, the only form of progress, the word that makes the changing world and looks at it and pronounces what it has pronounced already in birds and beasts and flowers and men. Pronounces this over again in words, it is good. This exultation in life, Why did we bury it? Was it only a bone of our own skeleton? Will it live again? Was it a seed? Unless it dies and falls into the earth, can it never bloom in living gold and give a home on earth to the birds of the air, now living homeless, naked glory, traveling on their plumes in the air? You remember Saint-Tropez, poor fishing village, beautiful, gruesome legend, where the head of martyred Tropez had landed. Nero's men had cut it off and put it in a rotten boat with a dog and a rooster. And that trinity had drifted on the middle sea in the sunshine, the paradisal breezes, to strike in this gulf and give its name to the place where the playground of commercial nudity would be erected later. Here you absorbed all the beauty of the earth you hungered for, in splendor of cliffs and sea, in the poor people taking joy in every movement and moment of the day that flows to us. In them, the perfect human, never perfect in power, always in the blooming anarchy of their lives, faith in life, hope in the present day, and the expected hard welcome tomorrow. So progress exists. It existed here in the sun, the fisheries, bread on the docks at dawn, lacing of the selvages at dusk, with the children all around in the evening, the first stars, the last supper of that day. Always there is the chance to make a decision for love. You found the perfect human, happiness, in those lives mounted as if small, but vast as a magic gem in a setting of incomparable non-human glory. Our life, so often curbed, bribed, harried, whipped to abet its own restriction. But here it escaped, it leapt up. Here in action, word, and relaxation was the rhythm of true work, rhythm of life, one with the joy of the planets and seasons, effort and leisure, production and play, idleness and natural stewardship, one with the air of beauty that had surrounded you in your desire, in your glimpses of desire's fulfillment since girlhood. You had always lifted your avid mouth and nostrils to that air out of the stink of factories, to the dreamland, the cleanly human earth, clean forests, waters, hills, and meadows, where you saw people move freely to fish, plant, reap, cook, and eat, and laugh. Always you heard them. You heard us exclaiming over the newborn and the dying. You watched us sharing the splendor and misery of being women and men. In the ecstasies of speech, in silent jails, in your father's and then your husband's narrow house, in starry liberties of speech with the comrades, in wasting weeks scratching for enough to live on, you watched us with what we ignorantly call unfailing love, a poem with scarcely a meaning unless we say it looking at you. Here at Saint-Tropez, in a home of your own, a gift from your friends, the cottage bon esprit, generous spirit, you lived apart and patiently, unremittingly, you wrote and grasped your life and the present realities of the life of the people, and then returned to Canada to live them more. To Toronto, you returned from Russia, the betrayal, the prison house, and from England, the cold inertia as of a dead physical system, final entropy of an empire of logic, time transformed by pale figures to money. To Toronto, you returned from the France of the joy of life and the abrasions of Berkman, then his death. Sasha dead, a suicide because of age's pain added to life's. To Toronto, you returned from your rebirth in Catalonia, brief seed of the free community of equals, and from its murder. You returned to here, to more harried scratching for poor beings, more frantic work to save the harassed exiles. You returned here to proclaim the defeated, forever unconquered, those who love comrades and liberty more than life. Here you too slipped unconquered into defeat. The stroke in Toronto turned you to helplessness. Helplessness of a child, rage at your encagement, moments of peace returning on your bed, immobile amid the busy loves of your many lovers, appalled sometimes at your tears. You died. So strange the silence that all at once came. You were gone, the star of a planet system of fervor. Gone the excitation, joy. You caused to burst and shine from inert bodies, our selves. Disheartened, we fell, silent, fell apart, went wandering off, each alone, like someone who has come to a favorite bench for a rendezvous with a lover who does not arrive. We looked all around, waited, only silence. Then sadly, we went away. Later, today, we returned as you had. We returned on a day that is every day, the day we begin to hear you again. You never died. You were one now as then in the peace of loving fellowship with that power that moves freely in each thing, drawing all time together. It shows its face, love, so that we live now in our buried interior and final splendor. Our betrayal, defeat, and self-defeat, our squalor, that too present to you, Emma, always now in its inner greatness you saw, its own beauty that it has never yet possessed, a seed that is the tree already, while only a dry seed. You arose to me again out of martyrdom, just as you first rose out of the witnesses unto death of the Haymarket. You were taken from Toronto by train, as you had come, to lie in Chicago with those martyrs you never met. But they had spoken to you alive and became your love, in the words of comrades. They were passed down, as we say. You took life from that life. I never met you, Emma. You were 7 years dead, what they call dead, when I was born, what they call born. But you were passed down to me, and I followed you. I would pass along the presence of you. Let me emerge out of my knowledge of you into life, out of your life as you did out of the rage and peace of those 7 courtly men judicially murdered so long ago and alive in Chicago. Let me live that way with you here in this place where the ancient living people's fishing posts still stand in our dream, in the fecund pure rivers in the world to come, to Toronto.